systems by graphing. Now this is a big section in Algebra 2. You probably did some of all of this in Algebra 1, and we would not have done this in geometry. This would not be, let me move that camera. It would not be a geometry lesson at all, but it's not that difficult. Let's define what a system is. Now, you can get more complicated in Algebra 2 and college algebra with systems. We're going to keep it on the ACT level, which is pretty much a system of linear equations. It's just lines. I'm going to underline all of that, is two or more, let's see how I wrote that, linear equation. A system of linear equations, I don't know where I got that last block because I've got with, is a, let's take the A out, two or more lines. And I'm going to skip a line because my underline got a little crazy there. Two or more lines. Now I'm going to underline 2 because that's all we're doing throughout this whole section. Sometimes we touch on 3, the ACT will not, so we usually just stick with the 2. The solution, and I forgot to tell y'all, let me underline that, is where they cross. Or intersect. Now, just sketch you on your paper 3 little X and Y axes. And if you have a colored pencil handy, if you want to get one, you can. You can do this without it. I'm going to do it with it. I forget to put stuff up there, and then I think, oh, we could do this with a colored pencil. If you want to grab one out of the drawer over there, if you have one in your pencil bag, or if you've got one with you. Okay, here's my question. I'm going to draw 2 lines on a plane. That's what we would say in geometry, which means not skew. Remember, skew lines are like this, and that's not on a flat piece of paper. But I'm going to draw 2 lines. What are the 3 different ways I can draw them? Parallel. People always give me that one first. That's the middle one. That's an excellent one. Now, if the solution is where they cross, do these lines cross? Will they ever cross? So they have no solution. Now, something that's interesting about them is look at the lines themselves, is they have the same slope. We did talk about that in geometry, that lines with, I may be confusing it with Algebra 2 last year, but lines that are parallel always have the same slope, always. Now, does that help you now to kind of know what I want? What's another one? They can intersect. Now, a lot of times we do these after parallel and perpendicular lines, so people say, oh, they have to be perpendicular. But just because lines intersect doesn't mean they're going to be perpendicular. So I just go over here and draw me 2 lines that cross, something like that. So the answer is where they cross. Now look at what that's going to be. It's going to be an ordered pair, an X and a Y. An X doesn't look like an X. There we go, X and Y. Now the third one, you wouldn't have thought about from geometry because we weren't doing coordinate geometry on graph paper. We were just talking about lines. So this wouldn't exist in geometry, but this one is going to be that they are and by the way, this one just said lines can only cross in one place. It has one solution. We state it. And then this one is going to be, and this is the way I draw it, it's going to be the same line. And I draw it like that. I put one line and I put arrows all over it. And it's the same line. So the solution is where? Where do they cross? The whole line. Every point on the line. So the way we say it is infinite, because there's infinite points on a line, aren't there? infinite solutions. And I'm just going to abbreviate that SOLS, and I'm going to circle that one. So you're going to have three situations. You're going to have either the same line, parallel lines with no solution, or you'll have lines. Now, most of your 10 problems in your classwork are going to be this one. I think you have one of those. I did not give you any of these, and you'll kind of see why in just a minute. So the first one we're going to do is the lines, or I guess we should say, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3, and y equals 5/3 x minus 4. And there's about 5 steps to graph it and find where they cross. Now, in Algebra 1, you would have graphed one of them on the graph paper, you'd have graphed the other one on the graph paper, and you would have kind of had to estimate where they crossed. But you're not just learning that, you're learning how to do it. And we're going to do the algebra part side of it in the next couple of weeks. But we're learning at the very basic one is to do it by graphing when they're in that nice y equals mx plus b form. Very lesson 4 situated. Are these the same line? If they were the same line, what would happen here? They would be exactly the same, wouldn't they? It would say y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3 and y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. That would have been this one. And so where do they cross? Everywhere. I didn't give you any of those because that's too obvious. Now, use this idea and tell me if they're parallel. Do they have the same slopes? No. So we know we're going to have a point of intersection. One of them has negative slope, one of them has positive slope. They're going to cross, and we want to know where they cross. So let's do it, and then we'll put it on the little slip, and we should have time to do a second one. So the first thing we want to do is graph them. So how do you graph on your calculator? Let me get mine all cleared out. What do you do first? Lesson 4, what's the first thing you do? Do you need to look back? Lesson 4, what did we do first? Where did we go first? Right there. What does that say? Y equals. Go to your y equals key. Where is that on your calculator? Top left. Push y equals. Now, is there anything in there? Some of you have probably been working on lesson 4. Do you have an equation in there? Does anybody have an equation in it? If you do, how do you get rid of it? Clear. So if you have if you have one from lesson 4 or notes in there, you need to hit clear. Now, let's type both of these. Last block this morning with Algebra 2 Honors, I just typed it negative 2 divided by 3x. I did not use that little fraction key. There's a shortcut that you can go straight and make it look like this. And so in this case, now you can put the negative with the top, or you can type, and by the way, we're going to put this one in y1, so put a little 1 right there, and we're going to put this one in y2. So I'm going to put the negative first. Now remember, a negative is not a minus. So put your negative, and then how do I get the fraction key? Shortcut is alpha x, and you 2, and then to get to the bottom, you put the 3, and then arrow over, and then the x is this key right here, this x key right here next to the alpha, and then plus 3. Okay, everybody type that. If you don't have it, stop me and let me help you. I could type negative 2 divided by, this is the way it was on that handout the other day, divided by 3x plus 3. I'm actually going to leave that one just like that since I just typed it. You can do that. Oop, if I get on the camera. It's not like I can't type it because I don't know how to do the fraction. You can just type it. Negative 2 divided by 3x plus 3. So that will work too. Now, how are we going to get to the second one? How do you think we're going to get down there? Hit the down arrow, your toggle keys right here, go down and type this one. Now again, you can type 5 divided by 3x, or you can use the shortcut. So we've gone to y equals, and you'll need to write this in your notes. And we typed in our equations. And then the next thing we're going to do is check our window, because who knows what you've been doing on your calculator, because we want standard window. And I'll ask you in just a minute how you get there if you're not there. Now, does everybody's look just like mine? Everybody look just like mine? Yeah, I typed with a little fraction key here. I didn't here. Doesn't matter. Let me get out of that light. There we go. Everybody good to go? Let's check our window. Where's the window key? Right next to the y equals. Push window. Is that standard? Yes. How do you get to it if it's not standard? What's the quick way? Zoom 6. You should have a zoom key, and then you just hit the 6. It will say zoom standard, it'll say Z standard, and you would hit 6. That's what you do when you're in a hurry, well, anytime. I mean, I'm not going to retype those numbers. Now, what are we ready to do once we've done that? We got the right window, we need to hit graph. Now, let's see what's happening. You told me it was going to be 2 lines. You told me they weren't parallel. You told me they weren't the same line. So, where's my second one? Is it coming up? Can't see it very well. Let me come up on my camera. Okay, so does yours look exactly like mine? Now, some of you don't have a color screen, but you have 2 lines crossing. Where does it look like they're crossing? They look like they cross right here. And what, can you guess what that ordered pair is? What's the X? At 3, 1. Now, I don't want you guessing for your answer. I want you to calculate it, because many times in algebra and ACT, it's not going to be, it may be fractions or decimals, and you won't be able to tell. So you don't always want to guess, because that might be 3.9. It might not be 4. So we don't want to guess on that. But we'll go ahead and put, and I don't know if you want to do it, draw the picture first or last, but we will, let's go ahead and put the instructions to find point of intersection.